クロッシングボイド。
Growing up, I have heard stories about how the Super Smash Bros. Series greatly impacted many people's lives. Seeing a fair few different characters someone knows come together, as well as an introduction to new characters and worlds to explore, is great. Whilst I feel I have a huge amount of respect for the way Smash Bros. Has influenced my gaming life, I feel I shall argue that one other crossover game has held more influence over the life that I have now. Dengeki Bunku: Crossing Void is a mobile gacha turn-based RPG released originally in China under the term SEA in August of 2018. It was co-developed by 91 Act and Sega and published by 37 Games. Later during November of 2019, the game was relaunched as Crossing Void Global and brought to other countries, now being published by Tencent, with SEA being shut down in February of 2020. The main premise of Crossing Void is bringing characters together from many different line levels to create a team and fight other characters or the enemies developed exclusively for this game. The game contains a story mode that pits the characters up against a new villain as they fight to protect this world they have been drawn into and ultimately get back home to their own. However, more on that later. Crossing Void's gameplay can be best described as a heavily simplified turn-based RPG. The player sets up a team of 3 main characters and pair each with support characters. The main character has 3 usable moves, 2 of them basic skills that use up skill points obtained once per turn, and climax skills from building up climax points obtained from using skill points. The support character makes another move available that uses more skill points. However, some characters throughout the game, when placed together, unlock a special move known as a cross skill. Including this skill, it can leave one character on a team with 5 moves total, allowing the whole team to have up to 15 moves altogether. Once combined, the gameplay involves working out the formations and understanding the best timing to use these skills to defeat the opposing team.
なかなかの手応えだったわ。
My history with the game began during around mid-2019 after watching the A Certain series and Toradora. Whilst researching on the 2 franchises to find more official content, I came across a mobile application known as Dengeki Bunku: Crossing Void, and after a little hassle, I had the application on my phone. This was around the start of my exams in my last year of high school, therefore the game became a huge stress relief in between studying. In comparing the game to now, whilst it still contained a fair amount of content, over the coming years, with new characters, modes, and mechanics introduced, the base game feels as if it is lacking in comparison. After playing the game for some number of months, I opened YouTube one day to find a trailer for a game coming out worldwide soon, and was currently in beta. That game was known as Crossing Void Global. Even after Global's beta had released, and the release date was fast approaching, I continued to pour time into my version of the game, now known as SEA. I decided I would dedicate my play sessions to the version of the game that I had started on, the one that I had built up all of my characters and items on. However, slowly bit by bit, SEA started to slow down, both in content and events. Players started to leave, and in late 2019, it was announced that the game would be shutting down by the 20th of February the following year. Whilst the news of the game's shutdown was distressing, at the very least another option was available. Instead of continuing on the SEA version, I decided to switch over to Global, at a great time as well, as my favourite character who had previously already been in SEA was about to be introduced to Global. The switch to Global was an interesting period of playing the game for myself. As well as having to start from scratch, many of the names of items, modes, and equipables were changed, and some characters were missing, while some new characters seemed to have taken their places. However, since starting, I learned all of the new names and continued to play as if nothing had ever happened. Whilst over the years, There has been many new mechanics introduced and events come and gone. That mostly brings us to the point now, where I have many high-level characters and have finished almost every progressible mode. The art style presents itself as heavily inspired by the respective light novels surrounding the characters and their worlds. Starting with the main menu, all the rightmost menu options are displayed formatted in a grid. On the left, any events or missions are laid out neatly in a column of icons. Any remaining information about what resources the player has is displayed in the row across the top. Lastly, any character of one's choosing is displayed in the empty space and plays different voice lines and animations depending on the selection. Further customization is available through provided and unlockable backdrops that changes the scenes behind the character and the menus, as well as changing the music. The art style consists of a hand-drawn, light novel illustration look. Menus pop out as if a frame from a manga, whilst characters move as smooth and are almost as expressive in their actions as their anime counterparts. Some characters use designs from multiple sources of media, such as Ryuji, who uses mainly his light novel appearance, however sometimes has his anime design in certain sections. The stage and menu backgrounds keep this hand-drawn art style, with some places being fairly recognizable out of the source worlds, and some others being created for the game or referencing a mixture of different things. The music is composed of many high-energy action tracks whilst in battle, with some more somber ones applicable for backgrounds and on the menus. The main theme is known as Lost in Eyes and plays during the opening of the game. The game itself links to the YouTube clip when playing it and gives a good overview about the story's plot before jumping in. Starting from the left side moving down, the first menu option is the settings. Inside, the player has different account options containing their statistics such as their level, collections completion, and set interests. Auxiliary contains settings for outside of game options such as notifications. System contains options for visuals and sound volume, and Exchange allows the player to put in gift codes from friends or other sources. The event menu holds 5 options by default. Daily sign-in to collect rewards once every 24 hours, exclusive memory to collect rewards from completing objectives set up by the game, Gift from You gives the player a reward every 24 hours from any character with an affinity level over 9, more on that later. Recommended Lineup allows the player to share their recommended teams as well as seeing other people's teams. And Treasury allows the player to unlock materials for Psych, more on that later, by completing daily missions. During the game's support, extra options would appear under the Event tab, allowing the player to participate in and interact with timed events, promoting characters and producing rewards. Below the Events menu is the in-game shop. Here the player can use many different in-game currencies to buy different items. Using notes, equipment can be bought to place on the characters. Using guild popularity and guild coins, an assortment of leveling items, some equipment, and gacha vouchers can be purchased. Friend points can be used for special randomized gifts. Expedition coins can be used in the Encounter tab to obtain character souls and tickets. The same coins can be further used in the Expedition tab to buy coins, gacha vouchers, and fragments. In the Crystal tab, Impression crystals are used to buy leveling items for impression weapons. Image crystals are used to purchase impression weapons and their vouchers. Image shards are as well used to purchase leveling items for impression in the Chaos tabs. Proof of existence can be used to obtain backgrounds and character art. Conqueror points are used to buy accessories. And lastly, the newest and final tab added to the game is the Gacha shop, where the player can exchange various gacha vouchers and points for different types. The next menu down is the mission menu. In this menu, the player can collect rewards from completing daily missions, collect character rewards from using characters for a certain amount of time, and dispatch characters out on tasks to collect further rewards. After the mission menu is the journal menu. In this area, the player can view each character they have obtained and level up their affinity levels using food obtained through various means. Leveling up the character gives the player voice lines played by the voice actors of the character to listen to and quotes to read. The cover character for the main menu can be set through the journal as well. The notice menu is next. It displays any event information, notices about the game, or details about specific bugs and problems. Finally, for the leftmost side is the History menu. This menu houses many items of extra content that will be discussed later in the video. Before moving on to the primary menus, if the player taps on the major display in the top bar, they are redirected to another shop-like screen where they can purchase in-game currency, event tickets, and subscription services as microtransactions with real money. On the rightmost side of the main screen are a selection of primary menus that contain the bulk of the gameplay options and modes. The first option the player may come across is the Gacha menu. As the name suggests, inside the player can use tickets or use a free daily spin to randomly unlock characters. Impression weapons can be pulled through a separate section of the menu using either normal Gacha tickets or specialized weapon ones. During events, the player has access to a special event character section, of which enables them to use event tickets in an attempt to gather an event character. Similarly, wish events, of which the player can nominate characters for their draws, have their own special menu as well. Finally, the frag or fragment menu allows the player to reuse deconstructed characters for extra draws. Prior to the announcement of the game's sunset, an extra menu was present known as the Exchange, where the player could spend gacha points to buy weekly rotating characters or character color palette swaps known as hues. In the social menu, the player has two options to choose from. The first is Friends, where you can view any friends you currently have or look up new ones. The second is Guild. Once the player has joined or made a guild, they get access to activities with other members. On the right is the guild name and statistics. Along the bottom is a link back to the shop, a member list, a record of guild and member achievements, a join request list, and others, which shows other guilds. Above that are the main guild options. Dispatch links back to the mission section for the guild missions, and skill allows the guild leaders to enable buffs for the guild when people are playing. Dungeons to battle with other members become available every weekend, and Prey allows guild members to trade character fragments. The bag menu doubles as the player's inventory. Inside, the player has access to view and in some cases interact with their equipment, any materials, usable items, character fragments, impression weapons, souls collected, and psych cards. The character menu allows the player to view and order any obtained main and support characters. A separate inside menu allows the player to create their default teams they will use throughout the game. On selecting a character, the game redirects to their info page. Inside, the player can look at and change the character profile images, inherit traits from multiple of the same character, change the character hue, increase the character's level, increase the star level of the character, increase the talent of the characters, upgrade and view character skills, view the available crosses, upgrade and equip equipment, enhance and equip impression weapons, use souls to awaken the character, view their stats, and view and enhance Elementium abilities. The final two menus are where the majority of the playtime come from. The challenge menu contains the primary assortment of the side game modes the player will go to apart from the story mode. In the psych zone, the player battles an assortment of enemies dependent on rank in order to gain psych cards and their materials. The treasure hunt enables the player to partake in a rotating set of missions to obtain different levels of equipment and currency to buy said equipment. Void Expedition has the player select a level of difficulty and send a team in to defeat enemies in order to gain expedition coins for the shop. Golden Storm is a daily resetting event that allows the player to battle robots and collect coins. Void Trial is a set of levels where the player must use a predetermined set of characters to determine a strategy and defeat the enemies for rewards. Mirage allows people to set both an offensive and defensive team. Controlling the offensive team, the player battles other people's defensive teams that are around a similar rank, to gain weekly, rotating rewards. Decrepit Dream allows players to compete in seasons of battles to be ranked in a tier and earn rewards. Burst Link allows the player to participate in daily online matches using set-specific characters to gain rewards. Uncharted Void is a mode where multiple players place a single pair of characters into an online co-op match to obtain equipment. Breaking Event is the menu where the player can access random events that pop up during playtime that can reward experience, coins, and materials. Pandemonium comes in the form of a generating world that chibi versions of the player's team explores. Under 5 separate difficulties, the player progresses through in order to gain materials for their possession weapons. Morpheus Realm pits players both individually and as a team against an invasion of enemies to determine a tier and claim rewards. And finally, the Pinnacle is a set of floors that increase its difficulty incrementally as the player progresses through them to earn rewards. The primary draw for fans of the characters would most likely be the game's story mode. It revolves around a new villain, Sepher Liuka, who had been trapped for a large amount of time in a dark dimension of sorts. Another new character, Oriad, and her helpers Saku and Maku guide many characters from all different worlds after they are pulled into one singular world by the crossing of voids. They are guided to help her fight Sepher's servants who attempt to remove them from existence. However, the main event I feel most players would play for is the interaction between many different characters who would otherwise never cross paths with each other. Whether it be Ryuji and Rentaro battling over meat for dinner, Quentha and Javier defeating Len in a battle, or Kirito in a confrontation with Kiryu-Hime, many players who have seen something to do with these characters should find something to like in this game's story. After 15 chapters, the story concludes with one final battle against Sepher, allowing all the worlds to return to normal and ending on a simple "to be continued." Further additional stories, not relating to the main one, would come in the form of different events that would as well bring new or returning characters and minigames to play. Due to the game's premise of many well-known characters from light novels meeting together, the worlds they are from and the characters themselves contain a huge amount of personality and character on par with their source material. In the journal, players can choose to expand their knowledge on any character as they use them by unlocking the before mentioned quotes and voice lines that label the source material taken from. In Motion, each of the characters' animations, moves, and designs are pulled from or contain a resemblance to actions the characters have performed in various media throughout the years. For the newly created versions of some characters, effort seems to be placed in making their actions relate to the character's personality. The characters can even take on looks of some other characters with hues. Most of the time, other hues represent characters in the same or other series in the game. However, sometimes characters can be represented from other places. Some examples include the Fate characters such as Rin, Archer, and Saber, all having a palette on certain people. To further this idea, a large collaboration event was held in 2020 where Hatsune Miku characters were added to the game for a limited time. Along with this collaboration came new content and music performed by Hatsune Miku. Where the characters are developed to be faithful to themselves and their series, the worlds are further developed through the rest of the content in the game. Many items in Crossing Void have some degree of reference to something from the source material of the characters and their worlds. In the equipment section, many of the items represent different objects out of the series' linked to the game, such as Gekida from Index, Mao's belongings from The Devil as a Part-Timer, and items and concepts from Excel World. The Psyche uses images that come from the light novels and other sources, or are original to the game and directly link with the characters and their personalities. An additional small mode is the camera function, which allows the player to place their characters in real-life situations using augmented reality. However, the history menu holds the majority of the extra series content. Inside, 8 tabs can be selected to explore the worlds. The background setting, as before mentioned, allows the player to select their main menu background and its music. The accessory tab displays the accessories collected by the player and in which mode or menu they were achieved from. Accessories are similar to equipment in stat boosting, however, are equipped to the player's profile as opposed to the character's. The Characterpedia shows the player every character in the game and displays if they have been obtained. When selecting a character, the game goes into an information panel for them, displaying almost every aspect of their integration in the game and a description of their personalities. The Equipment tab displays all the equipment and impression weapons the player has and has not gathered, as well as the sets they are attached to. The Psych menu displays the Psych cards the player has and has not gathered, as well as the date they were obtained. In achievements, the player can view different goals of the game and what category they fall under, as well as obtaining rewards from any completed achievements. In the story menu, the player can view any unlocked cutscenes from the story mode and from events they have participated in. Extra links for a CG cutscene and the opening are located in this menu and open in-game to watch. The book section is most likely the main tab for fans of the series, or people trying to discover what some of the source materials are about. Once the player passes a certain number of stars on characters from the novels, they will unlock, allowing the player a preview of the cover art and a description of the series. Over the last 3 to 4 years, I've become quite a large fan of a lot of Dengeki Bunku's characters and worlds. Whether it was my start with the Toaru series, the phase of Kino, Boogiepop and The Devil as a Part-Timer, or the discovery of not only my favourite anime and book series, however my favourite property of all time, Toradora. These worlds and characters have had a huge impact on my life. Without this game, I never would have watched many of the anime I have seen, and my taste would most likely be very different. And those shows further influenced my life, whether as stress relief during my finals for school or during uni, or as inspiration for some of the things I like to do and see. To see these characters and worlds come together in a single game goes back to the comparison of Smash Brothers, where my sister and I would eagerly wait to see who was added next from our favourite properties, or complain about the amount of Sword Art and Toaru characters added like with the Fire Emblem characters in Smash, as well as discussing the final Smash like climax moves and how older characters need somewhat of a revamp, and talking about the characters who never made it and should be there. Yuji Sakai. The characters are all brought together with some new versions and lore. Seeing them mingle and talk to each other is still amazing in my opinion, and the ability to see the small amounts of detail in each and every character's moves and animations is one of the best things I feel I've ever seen. I know there are other games where the characters cross over, most notably Fighting Climax on the Vita, PS3 and PS4, and I enjoy playing them as well. However, Crossing Void feels more like an event, a celebration for these universes and their legacies, a way for fans to interact with the characters they love to see. With the game's life drawing to an end, my plan is to attempt to level up as many of my favourite characters as I can. However, I would like to see something come from the franchise in the future. Although the developers have already announced the game would no longer be playable or downloadable, for game preservation purposes, I would love if they would be able to release an offline version back to the devices or onto Steam or any similar platform, as once it is gone, almost all the content and story is going to disappear for no one to experience again. This goes further with the content on the official Crossing Void YouTube channel. Whilst I have not heard if they are going to remove anything, it would be nice if it was kept due to the amount of effort and work placed into many of the videos throughout the years, most notably the music videos. For the case of a sequel, if they want to go back to the typical fighting game, I think the best way to approach it would be mixing the amount of content in Crossing Void with the gameplay of Fighting Climax. If this not very probable sequel were to release, I feel it would be nice to see it on many platforms other than just phones or PlayStation devices. In particular, a Switch and Steam port would be great to see. However, with Yu-Gi-Oh games now releasing on everything, including Xbox, I think it would be neat to see it on every platform with crossplay and cross-save abilities allowing players to jump between the devices. Another thing is with the amount of Smash Brothers-like games coming out now, I think this may be the perfect time for Sega to throw their hat into the ring with this huge cast of well-known characters and franchises to battle it out in a more simple to understand yet still competitive fighting style. I think the main and support system built up through the series could carry over and be the primary difference between it and other Smash Brothers-like games. Whilst I would recommend removing the gacha elements, I think keeping the idea of a rotatable list of unlockable characters would fit quite nicely, and alternate versions of characters can go under the primary version to be selected for different movesets and abilities. When it comes to the content, I think an amount of unlockable items, game modes, and story content on par with Crossing Void would be perfect. They can use the same character sprites and animations as well, thanks to the hand-drawn anime style aging as well as it does. Crossing Void is important. Not just in terms of memories for myself or by what I feel countless other players, however as well in terms for the franchises themselves and the legacies that they hold. It is an event, a celebration of everything that makes these series great, a way to honour the original works and the creators of all aspects of their franchises. It represents the culmination of the enjoyment many fans have had reading and watching in each of these worlds, all of the attachments they have made through the years to each of the characters, and gives them a way to represent the enjoyment they have gained and experienced through the media they enjoy. Crossing Void is important, and as the end of its life draws near, I can only hope the future is bright for this little side game franchise. Hello everyone, BlueBlaze here, and I would like to thank anyone who watched this video all the way through, or even those who checked out the start and skipped straight to the end or skimmed through. Either. I'm happy people have decided to check it out. This has been my longest project I have ever personally done, taking almost 2 months intertwined with uni work to be complete, and I am extremely excited to finally be sharing it. I feel I understand the parts where I am running through different menus and modes can be somewhat boring, however I wanted to cover everything in as much detail as I possibly could for the sake of some sort of preservation. I think the next thing I am going to do is take a breather, keep bringing out normal content, and get ready for Sonic Frontiers release. And depending on how fun this was to edit, I may plan some more big things down the line. However, for now, I believe that is all from me. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Thank you again for watching, and I shall be back in the next one. Cheers everyone!